What's going on, guys? Over the last several weeks, if not months, we have been diligently following the breadcrumb trail of leaks leading up to Samsung's Fold 4 or Z Fold 4, depending on which region this thing indeed does launch in. And today we have something that's going to kind of blow the lid off of this thing, because we have what purports to be full 5K renders of the Fold 4. Now, these renders come from @OnLeaks, which is Evan Blass. I've cited this guy's work on numerous occasions on this exact channel. And today what he's done is more of the same of what he tends to do. He's bringing us exactly what the Fold 4 is likely to look like. Now, he has shared these leaks exclusively with a website called SmartPricks, which is kind of a weird name for a website. Not going to dive into that. Let's just dive into the images here, because they are very impressive and there's maybe a lot to talk about here. So let's jump in here to the Fold 4. And the first thing that jumped out to me is the camera module setup. So we definitely have a camera module that looks very, very similar to what we have on the S22 Ultra. And while the leak doesn't really talk much about the camera itself, the rumors are we're getting a 108 megapixel primary sensor, a 10 megapixel at 3x telephoto, as well as a 12 megapixel, which will be an ultra wide. And there's nothing about this that tells me that that is not going to be the case. Obviously, the side mounted fingerprint scanner still in place, the volume rocker still in place the same. On the cover display, you still have the same hole punch selfie camera. Now, you may notice as well from looking at this and some stuff I've talked about literally just the other day, this device is going to be ever so slightly shorter, but also ever so slightly wider. And I think that it's evident here on this cover display. I think you can tell a little bit that this guy has widened out a little bit. And I think that, for me, is probably one of the killer features of this device. It's going to be better in that cover display mode, but also the interior display will be a bit wider as well. And as we jump into this second image, I think that that is relatively evidently clear. This thing does look a bit wider than it has looked in the past. You will also, of course, notice there is no hole punch selfie camera. That is staying from the Fold 3. Probably somewhere in this region there is an under display camera, which hopefully is a next gen version of this under display selfie camera, which hopefully will do a better job of avoiding the screen door effect, which was absolutely nightmarish for someone like myself that has some visual sensory processing issues. Image number 3 is this sort of side profile, which really doesn't reveal anything additional that we haven't already kind of talked about on the previous images. And then image number 4 is this sort of thing that they do a lot. You can actually see here how deep these camera bumps are, but I guess I should say how tall these camera bumps are, and they are quite large. But that is kind of unavoidable. And this is something that we've talked about with Surface Duo 2. And people complain about how large that camera bump is. Well, something that we have to keep in mind with these sorts of devices, the Fold, when it's unfolded, is quite thin, right? And it has to be quite thin because you have to fold the thing over. So when it's folded over, you're doubling the width. So you have to make it quite thin so that you don't have too much of an absolute brick, a unit of a device. So the device, when it's opened, has to be very thin. And these camera modules require depth to function. There's this misconception that it's just, hey, it's just a lens and a sensor. No, it's like 6, 7, 8 lenses and a sensor, and these things are stacked vertically. So you need vertical space, and the result here is that the camera bump on a thin device, okay, so if the device was thicker, these bumps would be less pronounced because the device would rise up to meet them a bit. But this device can't be thick because it has to be folded. So the camera bumps are going to be very large. We should also point out here that we do still have these stereo speakers, which is one of the best things about the Fold devices. The speakers on these things are absolutely fantastic, and that should remain the same. The device overall is supposed to be thinner and lighter. I've actually seen a leak this morning that indicated that the Fold 4 was actually going to be lighter than the iPhone 13 Pro Max in a case. And that is a big deal. So this thing is very large, but evidently they've managed to trim down the size, the thickness, and the weight to make this thing actually quite lightweight. So guys, there are a few more images that I'm not going to show you here. There's a nice 360 view of this thing as well, which again, I'm not going to show you because I want you to go to this website. So click on the link in the description and go check it out. Give them a click for their hard work. Guys, that's the Fold 4. That's pretty much what this thing is going to look like. And you may have noticed a big thing that isn't there is the pin silo. This thing was rumored early on. Maybe it's going to be there. Apparently Samsung did work on this, but at the end of the day, there just wasn't room. They didn't think it was worth doing quite yet, so they removed the S Pen silo, perhaps expanded the battery back out a little bit. Hard to say, but the S Pen silo not going to be there. You're going to be doing this thing separately once again next year. Give me your thoughts on this in the comments down below. If you're watching this video on May 11th, I'll see you back here at 1 p.m. for Google I/O. I will be live during that event. I will see you then, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.